Pitch, just as this match is warming up, I just want to throw this at you and get your thoughts. I obviously enjoyed United Cup, Zverev commentating some great matches. I've commentated Rune, had the ability to watch Sinner, Ben Shelton yesterday, called Carlos the other day. And I'm always curious as to why the younger players have taken so long to sort of dethrone the Djokovic's and the Nadals of the world. And then I sat courtside yesterday watching Novak going, this guy Novak just gets it. He absolutely understands what has to happen at any given moment in a match, when to crank it up, when to dial it down. He never beats himself in any individual point. And I look at the likes of Alcaraz and Ben Shelton in particular yesterday, and I'm just thinking, if they can just get a little slice of what Novak's got, they'll be on their way. Like, they'll be great players and they'll probably win majors, but will they absolutely maximize their ability if every match is like fireworks and showtime? So I guess my question to you, Petch, is
40-15.
Am I missing the mark, or are these guys just going to take the game to a whole new level? Or is there just that room for just that little bit of percentage in their game?
I think it's a fair question in terms of the way that the others are playing. I will say I think that Novak has become arguably the most complete tennis player of all time. His ability to change strategies, we saw it in the final of the US Open against Medvedev, the serve and volleying that not a lot of people will have gone to with the frequency, and the ability of him to be able to implement it, having not really done it, was something that obviously shone through. Obviously, he's been, I was just going to finish that thought, but in terms of wins for Alcaraz, he's the best ever in terms of his first 100 career matches, 75 wins in those first 100 matches on tour. Roddick next best, 73. Johnny Mack at 72. You look at the likes of Djokovic and Andy Murray, Federer, they were 65, 63, 51 for Roger in his first 100 matches.
The learning curve was steep for Rog after that first 100, wasn't it? And maybe Roger was he had so many strings to his bow. Maybe it just took a little longer than, say, you're a Mats Wilander type counterpuncher type player to harness all of those talents and create a game style.
Yeah.
So lively arm. In a roundabout way, I guess what I'm trying to say is my old coach, who actually coached Rod Laver, so he knew a thing or two about tennis, he always used to say to me, never send a man to do a boy's job. In other words, don't overplay.
Yeah. Amazing. What a pickup.
Love 15.
He's built a little like Sinner. He's tall. There's not much of him, but he's got some wheels. Look at that. He's deep in the forehand corner, and that's a fine volley. And not sure he necessarily meant to play the lob, but the effort was rewarded.
15 all. Thirty 15.
Lorenzo's coach, Gibo, who's been with him ever since the start of this wonderful journey. It's great to see that sort of loyalty being repaid by the player. It's rare.
Forty 15.
What's the average lifespan of a player and a coach?
I would say at the development age, which is the trickiest, no question, in terms of trying to develop a player's style and also get their ranking up and try and navigate so much, I say 2 to 3 years at that particular juncture.
Game, Alcaraz.
Once they're established, a little longer?
I think that definitely, yeah.
1 game all.
Nice strong service game from Carlos Alcaraz.
That's the ability to look at stats and data in real time for the coach's corner.
$15.
Lorenzo's girlfriend, right, Alice. She's also getting involved in doing a little bit of that data analysis. That was good.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to spend your time on tour,
yep,
you might as well get invested.
$15 all.
Certainly gains to be had out of the Sonego's forehand if he can get in there quickly. Alcaraz, it is the shot that is the most productive. It is the shot that he's going to try and back into his backhand corner and use as much as possible. The Alcaraz down the line backhand will be key. But he is a fast-flowing player. A lot of fluidity about the way that he plays.
30-15. $40-15.
Very simple action, Wally.
It is, and as I said, he's tall, obviously, which is a great benefit when you serve, but there's not a lot of him. But he will consistently serve over 200. I mean, that's 216. It's a slightly deceptive serve.
$40-30.
Abbreviated motion, fairly common these days.
Not a huge amount of upper body rotation.
No, it's he keeps it fairly simple, doesn't he?
Look at where his feet are planted when he actually gets in position to hit the serve. You can see the back foot is almost straight level with the front foot.
And he's got a bit of that even-ish start, hasn't he? The right foot is actually outside the line of the front foot. A little different on the second. No, there it is.
Deuce.
And that's where you'll see Alcaraz directing a lot of the traffic off the return when he can into that backhand side of the Italian.
I suppose as a consequence too, Petch, of that lack of shoulder rotation and getting fairly front on, the heavy kick it's not as prevalent as the slider.
Advantage Alcaraz.
A little anxious look down the court. Joe Moreno in the yellow t-shirt in the front there is physical trainer.
Deuce.
The right shot.
Advantage Alcaraz.
And he's got to be careful that he doesn't just completely feel as though he needs to be inside the baseline. He will take time away from himself, given the quality of this man's shot. Got away with it.
Deuce.
Alcaraz made contact with that ball on the service line about waist height, so you'd have to say that was a dreadful drop shot.
Advantage Sonego. Deuce. Advantage Sonego.
He won't be afraid to move forward, Sonego, if the opportunity presents itself. Controlling the court with a forehand from the back of the court is his stock standard play, but don't be surprised to see the drop shot, the move forward. He's got some variety.
Game, Sonego.
Sonego hangs on. Chances came and went for Alcaraz to get up and running quickly.
Sonego leads 2-1.
Alcaraz's full team not here, of course. Juan Carlos Ferrero recovering from left knee surgery.
Love 15.
Samuel Lopez in the box for Alcaraz. Samuel Lopez, who coached Juan Carlos Ferrero during the course of his career. He was also with Carlos when he won at Queen's on the grass courts. Brilliant lob. Flighted to perfection.
Love steady.
I always feel like if you've got this sort of time that Alcaraz had, that shot there, you can't hit it very hard. So if you push it deep, you are a sucker for that lob. I mean, he played it beautifully, don't get me wrong. But I always feel like the answer to a drop shot is a drop shot. They've asked a tough question of you, asked the same tough question back, and then it gives you a little time to... They've got to move forward, and you can buy some time to get set in a better position.
Let's just look up to Samuel on the left of your picture there. Carlos's dad. Second from the left in that second row. Barrow, his brother, to the right of the front row. And the ever-present Albert Molina next to Samuel Lopez in the front row, the agent. You have an agent, Wally?
Agent of chaos. Well, if you're going to run around and hit a forehand, you better do something just a little more than that. Nice serve, nice and heavy. You really do open yourself up for that cross-court forehand. I guess every player has an agent, but the really good ones, the agent tends to be with them probably 90% of the time.
Why would that be?
I'm not sure why. To walk them to the press conference.
And there is Albert, done a wonderful job. I had once had an agent said to me, 10% of nothing, still nothing. Harsh but fair.
Yeah. Fair to say, Petch, there's not a lot of money in this game commercially outside of the very, very best. And I'm talking about Grand Slam winners. Outside of that, chase the prize money.
Yeah, where you come down, the chimney is also hugely important. You can come down in a big tennis market, which does give you a little bit of a leg up. And this would be a leg up in the opening set for Sonego if he could turn this around from having break points to save in his previous game. He's got an opportunity here at Deuce to apply some pressure on the second seed serve.
This has not been a sparkling start from Alcaraz. A few unusual decisions, unforced errors. He's not quite on song yet. Gotta like the body serve. Curled it into the hip, the backhand hip of Sonego, forces him into the alley. Makes for an easy approach. Serve with good variety so far has Alcaraz. We've seen a few flat bombs down the tee, heavy kickers to start the point. That was a slider into the body. I do think it's important for any server to be able to work the square. Speaking of working the square, I commentated Ben Shelton yesterday, and my goodness, is that a serve? Phenomenal.
Again, Alcaraz.
You need to be perfectly aligned, because there's a lot of times, and certainly it happened to me personally, where you suddenly get in these conversations that were very strange, that kind of came out of nowhere, and suddenly you realise where they were kind of coming from somebody that had a different set of eyes on it.
Right. So you're saying there was a rat in the camp. But if you are aligned, it's a hugely important role. I love it when a player moves onto the ball on the rise.
15
You don't have to get extravagant. Just take the pace that's in the ball when it's on the rise. Here it is. Front foot. Actually hits with an open stance, but the momentum is all forward. And that was the reply. Taking it early takes time away.
Decent effort from the gentleman in the front row there. Just couldn't quite grab it out of the other gentleman's hand. I think there should be a rule here. If you catch it, you keep it.
Yeah, that's the States, isn't it?
The States, as if it goes into the crowd, you can keep it, obviously,
right.
But I just feel like you need to...
Okay.
Yeah, you got to catch it, though. If you fumble it, back in the stadium.
One bounce, one hand. Well, Australians pride themselves, obviously, from, you know, a cricketing background, that, you know, catches win matches, that we can take that catch. To be a great player, you've got to be able to turn defence into attack, and he defended well there. Alcaraz, of course, athleticism helps, but you've got to be willing to defend, and you've got to be a little bit creative, and you mustn't mind being pushed around. You've got to kind of enjoy it. He certainly does. It was two very good gets. See how he approaches his second serve. He's been fairly aggressive and made some errors on the backhand. Here at 30 all, is he determined to make this return?
30-40.
Aggressive stance once again, paid dividends. Risky, serving to the forehand, second serve.
It's another suboptimal point played on a break point by Alcaraz. Just his second match of the season, of course. Played Gasquet in the opening round. It was a tense opening set affair before he ran away with it. Sixth match of the season for the Italian. Started the United Cup, couple of losses to Zverev and Manarino, no disgrace there. Got an epic battle with Jannik Sinner in Adelaide, almost 3 hours, saved a couple of match points.
You go back to that second serve missed on the break point previously, and it's sometimes interesting with players. I watch them and I think the baseline is the standard, and they tend to say, well, if I'm going to be up, I'll be on the baseline, or if I go back, I'll be 2 or 3 meters back. But it's not as though they always take into account the server. It's like forward is the baseline, back is 2 meters behind, irrespective of the server. And I sort of think you know, if you're taking on Adrian Manarino or Ben Shelton, forward and back is going to be very different. But it's almost like the baseline is the reference point, and we'll work from there. Stand up, baseline. Well, against Sonego, you're making contact above shoulder height when you're on the baseline. So you just, do you even go further forward or a meter back? You got to be open to taking all that information on the run. So he took that about 1.5 meters inside. So
Sonego.
That's pretty ambitious. That might be the play when you've broken. You're 4-2, you're 5-2, you've got love 30. Things are flowing just that little bit more. Just finding his way here, Alcaraz.
Sonego's done a great job there, ever respectful, apologising for the little kiss off the net. But he deserved that hold. 30 minutes gone, 3-2.
Left first serve.
.65. That is a good performance.
Yep. It's hard to believe he lost. Rude must have been the backboard.
Love.
You like that play?
40 love.
I
obviously
like
him to make it, but
yeah, no, I do like that play. I mean, the double handers, it seems to make sense. You know, strong left hand on the racket, but I probably wouldn't do it at 30 love. More an element of surprise. If you had a big point, 30 all, first point of the game, 30 love. I don't know. I think pitch two, that type of play where you might serve volley out of the blue, take the backhand on the rise off that second serve out of the blue. Early in a match, it's good to do, but I always like to see a player do it from a position of strength. So just slightly ahead in the scoreboard. Done the hard work, got an opportunity. Element of surprise.
That's exactly what Alcaraz has done at 40 love, hasn't he? Just given Sonego something to think about for later on in the match on a big point, the fact that he's already thrown in the serve and volley play.
You know, Petch, we're all coloured. We all look through the game, at the game through our eyes. We're coloured by our experience. And, you know, I played and it was just like every match was a struggle. It's like miss hit here on the back end. So you had to throw the kitchen sink at your opponent. So I sort of look at it in those terms. But, you know, the modern player has, some of them, they just have exquisite skills, you know, whether it be the big serve or the big forehand. They don't look at it as a scrappy, scrounging affair. They want to play clean, big tennis. But I sort of look at the game as There's so many possibilities. And you can't perfect them all, but you can have a little piece of it in your bag for a certain occasion. Oh, that's a clever shot. Look at the momentum. Body weight. He was
30-15.
absolutely committed to that backhand line. No hesitation whatsoever. There was nothing to really suggest it was on. Backed himself. So an example of that for me would be Andrei Rublev. I watch him from the baseline and I'm just like, whoa, this is a body serve, well directed, just an inch long. And he just stripes the ball, backhands and forehands from any part of the court, and it's beautiful to watch. And then he literally can't volley. And I think, wow, if he just had... some net game to take advantage of these incredible ground shots. Where would... I mean, he's awfully good as it is.
30-40.
But where would you be in the game?
That's how you diffuse somebody that's wanting to play up on the baseline and inside the baseline, just flatten one out through the middle of the court. Very difficult for Sonego to be able to stay as aggressive as he wanted to be. Another chance for the Spaniard to break.
Flat. First one. Yeah, Alcaraz.
They had better chances to get the earlier break in the previous three break points. Couldn't convert.
4-3.
A gift from Sonego, and Alcaraz does break 4-3. Well, we touched on some of the stats. Most wins in his first 100 matches ever, eclipsing everybody else. In terms of the first 150 wins, also most wins. Looking at his Grand Slam record as well, if Alcaraz wins today, Wally, he'll only trail Borg and Wilander in the Open era for most match wins before turning 21. He's even going to eclipse Nadal in that regard. Mats, who won 4 Grand Slams before turning 21 and beyond 3. Maybe Carlos is showing us you can have your cake and eat it.
Yeah, and that's what I say. You know, is it a completely different paradigm? Are these guys going to take the game to a whole different level? I mean, we are now seeing players that have played with nothing else other than the new aero graphite rackets with the poly combination. That's how they grew up. So at 11 and 12, they had power to burn. So their game, with all of that power through all of their junior years, that's the game that they've arrived at. So are they taking it somewhere else where the percentages don't matter so much? Because you just said Max Purcell, who's not a massive power player, just hit 93 winners. So is that where we're going, where winners dominate and the unforced errors is not a relevant statistic as it was in the past because the winners prevail? And that's where I have to check myself, Petch. Being a white-haired, old guy.
Well, you still have plenty of grey matter.
I'm a massive fan of Alcaraz, don't get me wrong. What he did at the US Open that year reignited my interest in the sport. It was that good. And what a personality too, that we've got such a mature individual who's such, you know, a fantastic sportsman on the court. And you know what I loved was how candid he was when he lost to Novak at the French in that interview. Not quite sure what happened on this volley.
Always dangerous though, isn't it, to get sort of caught up in the numbers and become accountants about how great somebody is. But you look at some of the great rivals of the past, particularly Borg and McEnroe, just 14 matches played, but they all seemed iconic.
Yeah, Alcaraz.
We clearly would have liked more, but at the same time, the ones that we had were so meaningful. And it may be that this guy doesn't get anywhere near 20 majors, but he is certainly going to have a huge impact on the sport in terms of the way that he plays it and the gravitational pull of casual fans that are now watching tennis because, as you say, his exploits over the last couple of years.
It's unfortunate, isn't it? But the great players, whether they like it or not, you start winning slams, you've almost got an obligation to the sport to leave it in a better place than you found it. You know, you could safely say Roger, Rafa, Novak, you know, these guys, Andy, they left the sport in a very, very healthy spot after 20 years of commitment from all of them.
15 on.
And, you know, you look at someone like an Alcaraz, you look at young Jannik Sinner coming through, you know, Holger Rune, you look at these guys and they've got the potential to do that, for sure. They're engaging, they've got exciting games.
It's
been pretty consistent with that play. Hasn't worked particularly well for him, but once again, Carlos is a blue sky kind of guy. Maybe he's thinking this is something I need more, you know, later in the event. Potentially, if I come up against players that are solid from the back of the court, I want to disrupt the serve. And there is a bit of breeze out there, and maybe, you know, we're just not, because Sonego doesn't seem to be quite on song either, does he? He's sort of firing a few forehands long, and we've seen a couple of mishits, so maybe just the wind at court level doing enough to disrupt the players' confidence and timing.
Tough ask for Sonego to play inside the baseline against Alcaraz's power, which is currently where his contact point is.
14-30. Game, Sonego.
Serve keeps him in the opening set. Alcaraz, though, with the opportunity to close it out in the next game.
Alcaraz leads 5 games to 4.
Sonego yet to take a point off the second serve of Alcaraz, has managed to nick 6 off the first serve, somewhat surprisingly.
$15 love.
And there you go, what I was just saying about how early Sonego's trying to take the ball. He's inside the baseline compared to Alcaraz, who's happy to just wait behind the baseline almost just over half a meter and sort of soak up the pressure, wait for the error. Italian asking a lot of his own talent.
Flat. Second serve.
Sensational from Sonego.
You just talk about his court position. Well, if you get it right, this is how dangerous you can be. Took that backhand inside the baseline, and you get the feeling, just the way that point played out, that the breeze certainly favouring Sonego. So from coming down from the northern end, quite often in this stadium, the wind comes from the other direction, hits the back wall of the stadium, and court level, it's the opposite of what you might read outside.
It was always the same in New York as well, until they put the roof on it.
Left. Second serve. (30-15).
If you're going to come in and Alcaraz is set, you got to have Stefan Edberg, Pat Rafter, Pat Cash like volleys, because that's the question you're going to be asked. To hit a volley at full stretch like that is not easy. And if there is a breeze, what a great play. Serve volley into the breeze, just makes that pass so much harder, the return so much harder to get it down.
That to watch the final point. Little half volley shuffled into the net. Good contest. Alcaraz deserving the opener.
(15-love).
And delighted to say Josh Eagle has joined us here after a quite epic match that you were just on. Josh, welcome.
Yeah, absolute cracker getting to see Zverev get there in the 5th set tiebreak. Can't wait to see Alcaraz. Boy, he's been lighting it up over the last 12 months, and great to see him here down under after missing last year. Can't wait to see what I've missed.
That's what you've missed, Josh.
Come at the right time. Gee, we're looking at such a An exciting player, aren't we? Carlos Alcaraz, he can do it all. A bit of trickery here from Sonego, but you know, this is not an easy shot. He's got his man up at the net and he still plays a drop shot. That's class.
Josh, we're just trying to figure out from the booth, just trying to figure out the direction of the wind down there. It feels like a bit of advantage for the player at the end Sonego is serving from.
Yeah, absolutely. Wind behind his back. Not warm, still pretty cool conditions. Sun's sort of in and out behind the clouds up there. So really perfect conditions for the players. So yeah, the scene's set for some good tennis when the conditions are like this. You guys comfortable up there?
So far, so good.
Great. Cheese platter will be there shortly.
So Zverev got home in a 5th set tiebreak.
Unbelievable
Casper
tennis.
Ruud got home in a 5th set tiebreak. There has been that many tight 5-setters in the men's draw this year.
Yeah, it's been unreal. The tennis was of the highest class as well in Zverev's match.
It's an elastic service motion, isn't it?
40-30.
Isn't it amazing? Because the serve is a static shot, but everybody interprets it so differently.
Game, Sonego. First game, second set. $15. $15.
Just trying to give you a little flavour of what's going on out there. Alcaraz far more comfortable playing in the middle of the court. He's happy to almost get as many backhands as forehand. Sonego loves to run around that backhand side. If that number stayed the same, that would be one of the highest that we've seen in a tennis match. Last year, Auger Aliassime was the highest in terms of forehands hit in a rally situation.
$40-15.
And perhaps just needs to shift his positioning a little bit more to the middle and just try and trade a bit with that backhand and wait for a better opportunity. His forehand always does a lot of the heavy lifting.
$40-30.
Lorenzo, perpetual motion in between points. Very high step count. been good at the net, Alcaraz, not overplaying the approach, just putting himself in a great position.
1 game all.
So you would kind of think with the breeze that Josh was telling us about, it's time to kind of knuckle down. If you're going to affect a break, maybe this is the end that you make it happen, the end that Alcaraz is now returning from.
$15 love.
Tough when your opponent is hitting the corners at 200+ kilometres an hour.
$30-15. $40-15.
What he has done and is trying to do is vary his angle of attack into the forehand and backhand of the Spaniard when he's come in. He hasn't been predictable in that department. His favourite combination, big first serve, big forehand, seals the third game of this second set, 2-1.
Sonego leads 2 games to 1. $15 love.
There's a throwback, just a nice deep slice approach.
Type of forceful tennis carried him to the Wimbledon title. That's the first time a player has actually beaten 3 top 10 opponents en route to the Wimbledon title since Sampras back in '94. It was a rare occurrence. Just underscored how magnificent that win was on the grass court of SW19.
Just saw that stat there. So Alcaraz, he's come to the net 7 times so far in this set. 6 times he's been successful. So it's just been a blend, you know, the serve volley point for sure, and it's probably the way the game has gone. He tends to come to the net, not necessarily on a classic approach, but he's dominating the rally, and then he sees the weak reply and he sneaks.
Game Alcaraz.
Josh, delighted to see you got an umbrella out there. It's got a little sunnier than it was earlier, but just like to get your thoughts on what sort of game plan do you feel that you could devise for the Italian against Alcaraz today? Give me a couple of pointers.
Well, of course, you don't want to get into sort of 6, 8, 10-stroke rallies. You're not going to win. You're not going to beat Alcaraz at that game, so it needs to be short and sharp. I think the focus really needs to be everything you possibly can to hold serve, early points on service games, of course, and then just try and keep the rally short. You cannot give this man rhythm, Alcaraz. He will eat that up alive. So, you know, a mixture of using your slice, bringing him forward, just going back in behind him, because physically, once he's set, he's not going to win these longer rallies.
$15.
It's one thing to have a game plan, but to be able to execute it and deliver it, given the quality and the intensity we're seeing here from Alcaraz, just courtside, the intensity on every single shot is just phenomenal that Alcaraz brings.
$30-15.
To your point, Josh, you've lost the first set. Yeah, absolutely. You just have to hang on to your serve.
40-15.
Got to be some sort of scoreboard pressure on Alcaraz. And fortunately for Sonego, the first serve is good enough. When he gets that in, he's in pole position. So he served well early days in this second set.
Sometimes think it's hard for the modern day player to get their head around by trying to keep the rallies really short. You're going to make a lot of errors, of course, if you play that way, and just being okay with it is another thing. Mentally, some players are not, but I think Sonego, he's okay with making some errors and taking more risk on in his game. And I think, you know, it highlights he has won their previous head-to-head, so he's got to take a lot of risk on today.
At one point in, I think just after the first set, he was, I think his contact point was about a foot inside the baseline. 0.29 of a metre inside the baseline was Sonego. So he definitely is trying to play up tempo and take it early. And the errors have flowed. He made 18 in that first set. The Italian.
Advantage Sonego.
Silky and soft hands from the Italian, and it allows him to salvage his service game 3-2.
Sonego leads 3 games to 2.
So his introduction to the sport was at 11.
It was a little bit before that, but his introduction to his current coach.
Right, okay. Yeah, because 11, that would be late, wouldn't it?
$30. 40 love. $40-15. Again, Alcaraz. New balls, please.
The threat of the big forehand was enough to have Sonego on the back foot.
$15 low.
Yeah, it's so receptive, isn't it? The polyester string, and particularly the one Alcaraz uses. He uses the RPM Blast, which is probably the spinniest of all the polyesters out there on tour. So anytime you cut underneath the ball, it just grips. So you've got to actually time it perfectly. You've got to really middle it. Something he has no problems with.
Let's first one.
Will be going down as the shot of the day. And for the life of me, I will never, ever understand on the main tour why we have doubles nets, because otherwise he could never have hit that shot. And it was absolutely brilliant.
It's a great rule, isn't it, that you can go round the net post. You don't have to go above net height. Showcasing his athleticism. Definitely having a little trouble on the forehand return. Wants to take a cut at it, trying to block a lot of returns, not middling them.
Overplayed it. And this second set is getting a little tricky here for Alcaraz.
4 games, 2-3.
Sonego 4-3.
$15 low. $30 low.
I always admired Stan Wawrinka's ability to block balls back. Everybody would love to take a cut at the ball, but there are some days, whether it be the quality of your opponent's serve or the breeze or whatever the conditions, just get the ball back into play. Both players having a little bit of trouble on return, particularly on the first serve of their opponents, just building pressure here in this second set.
Let's. Second serve.
Yeah, it's quick conditions, guys, down here, because there's not a lot of rallies, so the balls are not able to fluff up, which we've seen, and very breezy. It's gusting, it's changing direction, so that doesn't lend itself to long rallies. So not that easy to get a lot of rhythm and a lot of rallies happening.
Again, Alcaraz.
Just a casual thunderbolt. And that's the thing that Alcaraz has at his disposal. Not only does he has those lovely little defensive skills, he has the ability to run through the gears. And when you take a look at the differential between the first set and the second set right now off the forehand and backhand, it is a huge amount of power that he possesses. 8Ks up on the forehand, 9 on the backhand. But he has yet to break through.
That's a stinging forehand, but what a great return, and that's what I'm talking about. It was not a block necessarily, but it was a double-handed bunt. You know, for all, you got to get every ball back into play here. Doesn't have to be quality. And some serves will be too good, no question about that, but have to find a way.
$15 all.
Just asking the question of his team, how far long was it? That'd be disappointing. Love 15, second serve.
$30-15.
And being courtside last night when Novak was playing, and Poprin's got it, well, he's got pop on that first serve, and Novak just makes, if he gets bat on ball, he makes it. It's extraordinary. And the pressure that builds. Hasn't been his most productive play coming in for Sonego. 11 out of 20 net points won in the match. Two returns made in this game, 2 points won. 2 points for Sonego were missed returns. Let's see how he goes about this one, Alcaraz. He's been searching for that return for almost an hour and a half. He found it, but couldn't find the line.
He's got a great attitude, hasn't he? You know, of course, there's a wry smile, but there's just so much positivity about the way he goes about his business.
It's disarming, isn't it, that smile, when he's missed a shot and he's still smiling. Smiling after that one.
Sonego leads 5 games to 4. $15 love. Very low.
Nick just 3 points off Alcaraz's serve in this second set. You kind of feel it's getting to the stage for Sonego that he can't keep airbrushing reality.
Ooh. I'm glad he made contact with that return. That would have sconed him.
This hyper-aggressive court position just isn't
49.
creating pressure on Alcaraz's serve. He's done well to get down to that ball.
The old fry pan just saved his nose. See that shot from Alcaraz? I mean, he can't help himself, can he? I mean, he played the most delicate, finest, inside-out slice. Have a look at this. Won't quite get to see it from this angle, but he shaves across this ball and hits it inch perfectly. It actually bounced sideways and dribbled into the side fence. Sometimes he just doesn't shoot. He could have just kicked that into the service box anywhere for a winner, but he had to play the most deft of slices. That's his nature. Do the impossible.
Well, if you can produce beauty and export misery, why wouldn't you? And that's what Alcaraz can do. And that was an effort there from the Italian to replicate something special.
But to break, he can break ugly. Just bunt a few returns back. That was he just dug out a defensive lob there. Sometimes to break, you just got to put your hard hat on. Go to work, make balls.
Keeps uncorking these serves, Sonego.
Gee, that's a shot. Difficult. Low.
15-30.
Let's have a look at his contact point here. This is down below knee height. Wow. Just shaves around the outside of the ball.
Close and personal contact between these two. Sonego doing so well. I think he had pretty much a continental grip on that forehand, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he did. Sometimes when he blocks or plays the block on that forehand wing, Alcaraz, it doesn't have full control.
Game, Sonego.
Once again, he proves unbreakable. 6-5.
Sonego leads 6 games to 5.
And that's where Djokovic is the master, as you said.
Great return. Get it back.
Love
Just
15.
get it back. Whatever it takes. Well, that was interesting. That was a sneak. He had his man in trouble, no question about it, but he forgot to split his step. So here he goes. Great forehand. He knows Sonego's got to play the one-hander. But you've got to split your step at point of contact. Yes, you would like to be close to the net, but he wasn't. He had to split his step. As Sonego made contact, he was passed by a ball that I would say Petra was going about 45 kilometres an hour.
Always easy in hindsight, isn't it? And a game played at 90 miles an hour, but was that a moment there potentially for Sonego to just play the scoreboard as well to his advantage?
If you asked Alcaraz what he wanted most right then, it was an unforced error. That's what he got.
So quickly out of the serve to square up for his +1 shot there. Often you see players take a couple of steps to get in position, not him. One step and he's good to go.
One thing you got to love about Carlos, he never goes into his shell. He's missed a couple of volleys.
40-30.
Poor read on a previous approach to the net, but if it's there, it's on, he'll go for it.
Said it about Iga the other day, but I kind of feel it's very relevant with Carlos. He's got the courage of a lunatic in those moments.
Yep.
Doesn't see the downside, just the upside.
So that point there from Lorenzo, that's what you're kind of suggesting at love 30 we should have seen from him. But hindsight is a wonderful thing. If he paints the line with that forehand at love 30, we're going, wow, up-tempo tennis is the way to go.
Interesting that given how productive Sonego's forehand is, Alcaraz is certainly peppering that in terms of his serve placement in this crucial game.
Led first round. Advantage Alcaraz. Alcaraz.
Great arm wrestle.
Six games all. Tie break.
One of the things about Sonego's return, and he's got a pretty low number in terms of return games won on a hard court at 16%. I actually kind of think he needs to go against the grain of what we kind of know is the right way to play on return in men's tennis, and that's to find your opponent's backhand. It's not as flexible, it's not as fast, but often when he finds the backhand, it's the most comfortable cross-court shot from their opponent to go into his backhand, which is his weaker shot. I almost feel at times on that due side on the second serve, he'd be better off going inside out
Sonego.
and trying to get a ball through the middle or press possibly back cross court.
Both players, and it speaks to the conditions and the blustery conditions and maybe their neutral grip, but both players are having trouble with that swinging serve wide out to the forehand. I mean, that was a great serve there. There wasn't much you could do about that. But the idea that you can just find the middle of the face and just bunt it back somewhere to give yourself a chance to get in the point.
One all. Two, one. Sonego.
Just chaperoning this one out.
It's been a good contest, but just the polish from both players, it's just, and maybe it's down to the conditions at court level, just being a swirly breeze, just not quite there. See, that's the one where I feel if you can just take your neutral grip and block that back. Sonego's in a really nice rhythm on serve now because he's getting so many cheap points. He's relaxed, you know, it's line and length. He's not, his best serves aren't coming back. It's hurting Alcaraz.
First one.
Let him ace him down the middle a few times.
4-1, Sonego.
I think at the block return, it's a bit like a forehand volley. You're basically just hitting a forehand volley and using the pace of the serve. Alcaraz tends to, it's almost slightly hit with topspin. What just happened there, Josh? Did he volley this?
Yep, that's an out ball. I think that was going out, that return, and he's played that as a volley, so it was just happening at speed and not a lot he could do. It was just a reaction. he's in a lot of trouble now, 5-1 down. I mean, you talk about the conditions, Wally. It is ugly. It's one of those windy days here in Melbourne where it's swirling around. It's not necessarily in one direction. And this is as quick as I've seen the courts play all tournament. I just think because it's not a hot day, the court almost, you know, when it's really hot, it becomes a bit grippy and the conditions are slower. A bit of humidity in the air, none whatsoever today. So I think the court's pretty slick courtside, and throw the wind in, tricky.
Yeah, and that might make it a little unfair of me to say that the polish is not quite there on their execution. I mean, they're really, both men fighting really hard, but there's just been some unusual errors. And as you say, Josh, lively off the court, breezy, ball not coming onto the racket as you might expect. Yeah,
and I think it's great awareness and smart play from both guys, using the pace of the court, serving wide to the forehand. I saw it this morning on John Cain as well. It's the right serve to hit on a quick court if you can execute.
Case in point, shoots through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, when you're absolutely sitting here courtside, it is so lively. The ball's jumping. You know, look at the acceleration, the revs that Carlos creates. This just is exploding off the court, and you know, he's a top player, and he's barely getting a racket onto it. So it just highlights it's not easy down here.
You got to take your hat off to Lorenzo. He bounces around the court like he means business. He just never goes away. Does the right thing here, covers line. Not too far away from making contact. But that has given him 3 set points.
Defiance and I'm sure satisfaction.
1 set all.
Set apiece on Rod Laver.
Novak would have solved the riddle of the return by now.
Love 15.
Lorenzo loves it. Look at him just pacing back and forward.
Bit of Charlie Chaplin about him.
He's on fire at all times.
Well, that second serve return from the Italian provoked that kind of second serve from Alcaraz, where he was trying to get it fast into the body to stop it happening again. And that is a double fault earned from the Italian.
$15.30. All.
Looking to repeat the play that brought in the second set with that aggressive return on the second serve.
Doesn't take a backward step, Lorenzo, does he? Once he's made that return.
40-30.
Maybe ambitious there off a stinging forehand of Alcaraz to try to change the line of flight to go line. Maybe just stand toe-to-toe cross-court, see if you can win that battle.
Game, Alcaraz.
Bit of a tame ending to that opening game.
First game, third set.
And Alcaraz, being the apex predator there is, may well take advantage of it in the next game.
And the impressive thing about that was it was all at the top tier. He wasn't scratching around in 250s or entry-level events.
$15 love.
So does he retreat? Does Roop up the back of the ball? You can see he's frustrated. Yeah, it's windy. It's blustery. As Josh is prone to say from time to time, it's swirly, swirly down there. Came in on a bit of a bluff there. He got away with it. You can see here the approach was not directed necessarily down either wing. He was in the center of the court. He was a sitting duck. Brad Gilbert wrote a book, Winning Ugly. And I think for Carlos today, it's not about entertaining, it's about winning ugly. Just, you don't have to step up and smash second serves. Go back 2 meters, get it back. 15 all, 30 all, make your opponent play. He will create. High risk, wind at his back. Tough shot, executed perfectly. Carlos will be Carlos, and maybe we're lucky that's the case.
Positivo e basta. Solo pensare positivo. Forza.
How quickly things can swing around. Sonego with chances at love 30 on Alcaraz's opening service game. Finds himself 2 love down.
New balls, please.
Did he make every return in that game?
Alcaraz leads 2
It
games
helps.
to none.
He did maybe missed
New
one
balls.
second serve on the backhand.
Well, that was the signature move from Alcaraz in those big moments, is getting himself up into the forecourt. He is great at the tennis at the 78-foot line, but he absolutely excels at the 21-foot line. And having navigated a fairly treacherous scoreline in the opening game of this third set, he has pushed on, and it is now up to Sonego to try and respond very quickly. He does not want to give Alcaraz too much of a lead in this third. He didn't disentangle himself from a strategy, Alcaraz. He just implemented the one that he wanted to better in that last game.
Interesting too that Lorenzo went backhand predominantly when the swinging serve to the forehand had been the winner in that second set.
15 love.
Well, great champions can get stung into action. That second set loss there seems to have kicked Carlos into another gear.
all. (30-15).
Fastest serve of the day, 2-11 from Alcaraz. Also switching away from the strategy he had, swinging the ball into the forehand side. Steady diet of fastballs in this game.
(40-15).
Not going to get the opportunity, it would seem, to balance the books in this third set, straight after losing his own serve.
Alcaraz.
Just the start that he wanted.
Alcaraz
3-love.
leads 3 games to love.
Sonego went backhand predominantly in the game that he lost, and the second set it was just working over the forehand of Alcaraz on return. And I go back to that block return.
Let's first serve.
If a player chokes down on the grip, the block return is much easier. But if you have the grip very low in your hand and you try to block, it's not as easy to control the racket head, and Carlos is the latter. He holds it fairly down, the grip. He doesn't choke up on return.
15 love.
The Italian camp have been telling Lorenzo to stay positive in both attitude and court position. And have a look at this for positive. Inside the baseline, virtually a half volley just rifled for a clean winner.
Love. Sonego.
On the board in the third.
You know, last night watching Novak return, there are times where he likes to take a cut at the return, but if he gets caught or it's a little close to the body, he will actually decelerate and just square the racket face up, and he'll get it deep without much on it, but he'll get it deep. The manipulation throughout the swing, and on the back end, it's out of control. Like his returning, you have to see it to believe it. And when you courtside the position that Josh is in today, you just get an incredible view of how skillful it is. You can't teach it. It's innate. He's learnt it.
15 love.
It's peculiar to him. But I'm just trying to balance that. Talking about Novak as a potential winner of this event, looking at Carlos, who's talked about as a potential winner. I'm just trying to reconcile the returning of Alcaraz today with that of Novak's.
Love.
Smash that looked like a bolt of lightning.
Pex, this looks like you on the tee after you've just had a triple bogey. A little bit angry. Just buried that smash.
It went a lot straighter.
Alcaraz.
He's in a comfortable position here in the third set. 4-1 Alcaraz.
Alcaraz leads 4 games to 1.
Josh, when you got your foot on a top player's throat, you got to keep it there. Sonego at the start of this third set had that opportunity at love 30.
Yeah, be ruining that lost opportunity because everything is happening at speed here courtside. Alcaraz, everything he does, it's like it's in fast forward. So you get these fleeting moments in a match, and you really have to be able to think clearly and self-coach yourself and deliver the goods. And unfortunately, he'll be ruining that missed opportunity, and so quickly he can put a big gap in the scoreboard, can't he, Carlos Alcaraz? Look, hard to believe he's just 20 years of age and still so much upside. Even if he can't block his return, he'll get there.
Time.
Well, we always enjoy watching top players with their backs against the wall and how they kind of figure out a solution to the problems that they're facing. Same can be said for this man right now.
Well, I definitely go back to slider wide on the first serve. For that reason.
15 love.
So that's it's kind of a scoop. He's thrown his arm around it, so it's kind of a topspin block. It's interesting. I like that pace though, 176 out wide. It just allows the side spin to do its work. Sometimes players get up over 180, 190 out wide, and it tends to, there's enough forward momentum to bring it straight to the player. About 175 is right, out wide.
$40 love.
A bit hesitant to use the crush and rush return. It hasn't really worked out from him.
Again, Sonego.
Sonego reels off the perfect hold.
Alcaraz leads 4 games, 2-2.
Plenty of chatter from Lorenzo's camp. Their mood sort of matches his. Plenty of encouragement and positivity.
15 love.
Falling away. Weight on the back foot, doesn't matter.
He thought it was a good return. It was an illusion.
Just beaten for pace once again.
40 love.
Ball skipping off the court. A little bit of breeze at the back of Alcaraz.
Gatto e via.
40-15.
Questo l'hai colpito, eh? Forza, forza.
Not for the first time today. A 40-love situation on Alcaraz's serve has been accompanied by a serve and volley play.
Again, Alcaraz.
Very dominant performance on serve in this third set
Alcaraz
from the second
leads
seed, 5-2.
2-2.
Highest percentage of serve plus forehand. Sonego on the tour last year alongside Grigor Dimitrov. That is his staple diet of attack and defense of his serve.
He has served well too, Lorenzo. 74% for the match. Given the pace at which he serves, that's pretty impressive.
Well, that looked good from here, Josh.
It was so good I didn't even see it. But yeah, no, phenomenal ball striking. Just the athletic movement to the ball, and then all of a sudden he's just got such a lively arm. Wow, it's phenomenal to watch courtside.
And predominantly, when he's tried to be aggressive on that second serve on the back end, it's just gone long. Maybe just the quality of the Sonego serve, getting up sharply. The jump off the court, problematic.
That is a gorgeous shot from Sonego. Not easy to get it past somebody that moves the way that Alcaraz does. And from down low, he's pierced the defenses of the 20-year-old.
Deuce. Advantage, Sonego. Sonego.
Try to launch another flamethrower, did Alcaraz, but he launched it too long.
Alcaraz leads 5 games to 3.
And that leaves Sonego with one last chance in this third set to capture the break back that he so desperately needs.
Fifteen love. Love.
First serve was 173. That was 180. Just shows if you hit your spots, you don't have to be up around 200. If the depth is there, close to the lines, there is value to be had. Line and length, every bit as important as pace. 30 love. Done it again.
Love.
Lovely change of direction with the first serve.
And
very smooth sailing in that third set for the second seed. 6-3.
Leads 2 sets to 1.
What a start. Flash of brilliance from the Spaniard.
Love 15.
Is this clean, Josh? Does he hit this cleanly? That is incredible angle. Look where he is.
He just put his hand up to apologise maybe afterwards, saying it wasn't. It was about 99% clean though.
The
So
1%.
That'll do.
That's an amazing angle from that part of the court.
Quintessential Alcaraz at the start of the fourth. And there's the sequel.
And Wally, you got to love this return. It was an abbreviated take back, more of a bunt return that you've been looking for, and just creating pressure by getting that ball back into play. In trouble here at love 30.
Yeah, he actually looks a bit better when he almost commits to the forehand, but it's a, as you say, maybe an abbreviated forehand as opposed to trying to block with a continental. Too good. 203 out wide, I mean. That's off. Nothing you can do about that. Lorenzo's the guy, he just keeps asking questions, doesn't he? He doesn't back off. Just keeps coming.
Let first serve. Let's first serve. All.
Shots like that, I see that shot and you think, if he can survive this match, play another match, it's maybe going to take him another 1 or 2 matches to really get into top gear. And that probably talks to the off-season and the time off.
Gets a bit tall on that backhand, Sonego, and you can see that
30-40.
when he get on top of the ball like that, there's a tendency for the front shoulder to dip down, and then it becomes a very flat hit. Hesitation. Thought about coming in, stayed back.
First game, fourth set.
And he coughs up the error, and Alcaraz off to the perfect start.
Love 15.
I don't think it matters who you are. You always play your best tennis after a volume of matches, a series of wins. You got the volume, you get the confidence. You start to play at a bit of a subconscious level. You don't overthink it. Big points come and go. You play them in a good state.
Yeah, that's why I think you will see more and more players play through the off-season, whether it's money tournaments or exhibitions, and then take that break after the Australian Open, because there's just so much money and points at stake. You know, it's the pinnacle of our sport, so it doesn't matter what your ranking is. I think that's the way forward for these players, and just throw in the heat, the conditions. It's something you cannot come down under without being fully prepared.
And Josh, there have been discussions in the past about pushing the Australian Open back just a little, maybe even just 3 or 4 weeks.
Won't happen.
No, well, it's our holidays. The football codes start to come into their own late February, early March. You're starting to compete with 2 codes of football.
15-30.
Yeah, it's just very hard when you've got just 2 tournaments leading into the Australian Open, whether it's United Cup or Brisbane International, then Adelaide. So it's such a fine balance to try and play enough without overplaying.
Straight after Christmas, basically.
Yeah.
Got to remember the Australian Open used to be held over Christmas, which was a little weird. You did get Christmas Day off, Petch.
Good to hear. Kind of awkward having Santa turn up to every court.
$15-40.
2 double faults out of the blue. So this is the execution, the poise. It's not quite there. It's a struggle for Carlos. You thought he's won the third. He's a break up. He's going to run away with it, but it's not coming easily. Well, I just said that Lorenzo had not generated a break point in 2 sets. He's got himself a couple straight up.
Actually, his first break point of the match, and Alcaraz nails
30-40.
the first one with a first serve. Can he capitalise on a good fortune he's been given here? Self-inflicted pressure from the second seed.
Deuce.
I agree with you on the backhand pitch. He's a tall man for a start, but he almost gets up on his toes, and he doesn't wait for the ball to come to him. He's sort of he's out there reaching for it. It's almost like this frantic effort. If you stand square, sink into the court, use your legs, let the ball come into your strike zone. Well, it was a good serve, and it was a better return. And he had to retreat. It was looking like you were going to get the big forehand from Alcaraz, but that's the deft touch that so many of the good clay courters have. They shape up to put you under pressure with the forehand and then just glide under the ball. Clever shot.
He wasn't taking any prisoners on that return, was he? Introduces it to the line with his second forehand in that particular rally, and he keeps his hopes alive of recovering the early break.
He actually had to volley that return too, didn't he, Alcaraz? But I think that one was going in.
Advantage Sonego.
Capacity crowd that's already had 6.5 hours of tennis once more.
And isn't that just, doesn't that just encapsulate Carlos Alcaraz, those last 2 points? So he went for the big forehand down the line, shaved it wide by a couple of inches, but he doesn't go within his shell. The next ball, he gets it just right, hits it inside the line by a couple of inches with no hesitation, just backs himself.
Well, he celebrates to the nerve center that's behind him, but this was nerveless tennis once again. Second fabulous forehand lob that we've seen from the Italian.
New balls, please.
He's a coach's delight, isn't he? He just keeps coming in all sorts of trouble. Dropped the third set, down a break early in the fourth. Down game points, and he just hustles and finds a way.
And Alcaraz blindsided by the brilliance from Sonego. And all the feels after that one. Undiluted delight on the face of the Italian.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Play continues. Thanks.
Great effort from Sonego. There was a little squash shot forehand at full stretch. It just clipped the tape and went over. If you hustle, good things can happen. And now he's fired up. Big fist bump after that break.
15 love. All. Letters. Second serve. $30-15.
Absolutely flying right now. Sonego with some of the best tennis of the match.
40-15.
And we have had very few of those kind of rallies as well. Just the 7th that has gone past 9 shots. Right in the crest of a wave of enthusiasm and optimism.
Leads 2 games to 1.
Italian 2-1, 4th set.
15 love.
We talk about Alcaraz, obviously, at the moment. You kind of forget that he's still 20. We're sort of, because he's been up at the elite and achieving the things that he has been achieving, you kind of feel as though he should have all the components of a great champion together already. But on that,
you're absolutely right. Like, and sometimes I look at a match and I look at Alcaraz and I just see this amazing potential, and I sort of scratch my head when it doesn't all go to plan. But at 20 years of age, he's probably going to play his best tennis at about 26. 6 more years. We'll see the very best of Carlos Alcaraz. It's mind-blowing, really.
"21 teenagers have broken into the world's top 10. This man is one of those. Here's a quick bit of trivia. Who was the youngest ever to achieve it?
The youngest teenager
to break into the world's top 10
10
since 1973. Men only.
Alcaraz.
Was it Michael Cain?
He was actually second youngest.
Cain was the second youngest?
Yeah, that's a very good guess, though. And Josh, you can't look at your phone. I'm watching you. I've got your IP address.
What did your phone say, Josh?
Love.
Orlando, Becker?
3 and 4. Becker. Mats was 4th youngest. All of those 4 were 17 years of age when they broke into the world's top 10.
And there was somebody younger.
30 love.
Still 17 years old and 11 days.
Wasn't Agassi.
No, Andre did it in his 18th year.
Slow
but he
learner.
was American.
Slow learner. Was American.
Love.
Mac.
Afraid not. He was 19 as well. The Australian Open in a nutshell. We love this sport, and that's the reason why.
Sonego leads 3 games to 2.
I was actually thinking Jimmy Arias, but it's Cricker. Just a quick story on Cricker. He stayed at my house once in Sydney, and he had to wash his clothes.
He lived to tell the tale?
He had to wash his clothes, and I said, go hang them on the line, and he didn't know how to do it. And I came to the conclusion that he'd had a very different upbringing to me. Old silver spoon Cricker.
Love. Love.
Felt it was important that Alcaraz played a strong game here just to send a message. The momentum was really shifting. He's certainly a player that thrives on adrenaline is Sonego. Serve volley. Once again, it's a very low grip, low in the hand. Hard to control the racket face. Sounds a little bit alarmist, but he actually has to be careful here, Alcaraz. He's not playing poorly, but he's not playing well. And he's playing a guy that believes. Sonego is not a beaten man. He's a positive character. And that's what we need to see from Carlos. He's got to dig deep here and get the job done, because the other thing about Sonego is he's the kind of player that if he hits a couple of good shots, he fires himself up. He can play on emotion for 5 or 10 minutes. He's dangerous. He just needs to keep a lid on proceedings here, does Alcaraz.
He's tough as nails, isn't he? We saw that in his run through at the US Open to win it. His 4th round, his quarterfinal, his semi-final were all won in 5 sets. Total time in winning it was 23 hours and 49 minutes in New York. Previous longest up to that particular point have been Murray on record, and that was 21 hours and 51 minutes when he picked up the trophy in 2012. Endurance won't be a problem for the young Spaniard, but this man still may be. Hasn't lost any pace on that first serve over the past 3 hours. That had an absolutely deadly angle to it. A little better, I'm sure, than even Alcaraz expected it to be. But it flashed off his strings, and a little bit of pressure developing. Got away with it. It was a marginal gain to take that ball on his forehand. He had a long way to go. Didn't really do an awful lot when he got there, and the line was open. Alcaraz took his shot but misfired. Sonego still on song in this 4th set on serve, 4-3.
4 games, 2-3. long. And
one thing I've noticed too, and I'll I'll be hypercritical because that's just who I am, Pedge.
I'm starting to get that.
Because you made the comment that in that first set in particular, when he serves, he's so quick to, it's one step and he's prepared for the next shot. As this match has worn on, and that was a tremendous serve at 198, there's been times when he's really thrown the ball quite far out in front and fallen into the court. And when you do that, you start to lose margin. So just a little bit of rhythm on serve, whether he's been striving for power, cheap points, but just not quite as relaxed as we normally see him on serve.
Freewheeling and freestyling Sonego can be dangerous. We've seen it in the past.
You know I love Alcaraz though, right?
I do know that. That's vodka clear.
$30-15. $40-15.
There's another one of those mini memories that the fans will take away. How does he do it? He absolutely uncorked on that.
4 games on.
168 Ks going backwards.
He liked it. That is amazing, isn't it? Because he's got no pace to work with. He's falling away, so the timing is exquisite. The wrist just catches up at the right time. Hasn't that been a winner for him? Slider wide on the first court. So many times he's won the first point. And as a returner, when you don't win that first point, it's just so much harder to build pressure in the returning game. It's really been a serving display from Sonego. Just constant pace, accuracy's been good, percentages are good.
Overly ambitious with that particular return. Every point valuable at this stage. You'll love that. A hole to love at this particular stage of the fourth set. Dupok looking delighted with his charge. 5-4.
Love 15.
There's just been a little bit of indecision, some poor shot selection. It has not flowed. And in a couple of those letters, he actually writes and details the amount of money that he's making when he turned pro.
Wait, please.
I think a lot of the current players would, you know, they stand on the shoulders of giants. What Laver and Rosal and those characters did to build the game, the professional game, extraordinary.
All.
Three hours, 7 minutes. Just a couple of matches on the Rod Laver Arena today, but as you can see on the left of your screen there, we are past the start time for what would have been the evening session. How far past? The next 10 to 15 minutes are going to tell us.
The organisers are impartial, but I think at this particular moment they want a result to go one way. They've got 15,000 fans milling around the concourse.
Buying food and beverages.
Well, true. Another hour.
30-15.
The Bills, Wally.
You know, looking at Wally's wage bill, they might want him out there for another hour and a half.
For love pitch.
$40-15.
The man in front of you, though, with starving desire. We have seen that already in his young career. The genesis of greatness over the last couple of seasons.
Again, Alcaraz.
Just how great, time will tell. And winning matches like this will help too.
5 games on.
Petch very quickly, don't want to detract from the tension that is building here. Been discussion over the years that women should play 5 sets. We've had an incredibly long day today, just 2 matches, and we're going to bleed into the night session. Someone said to me yesterday, the men should only play 3 sets at the slams. You ever thought on that one?
I'm not a fan.
I've never considered it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I think also you're going to get some brutally quick days as much as you're going to get some long days with the way it's set up at the moment. I don't think you can ever organise a tournament or make decisions on outliers.
It just threw me a bit because I'd never ever considered the prospect of men playing 3 sets at a slam, given we've been playing these things for 120 odd years and 5 sets is the benchmark.
Well, at Wimbledon, if you start at 1 o'clock and you put everything to 3 matches, your argument would be you could play 4 matches a day on that court. If you kept it at 3, you would be done by 5. Oh. How has he won that?
So we thought Alcaraz was going to be the entertainer.
39.
It's Sonego. Is that a tweener? What do you call that?
Improvisation.
It's beautiful.
Something out of the ordinary, which is what you've got to produce against the best players in the world. Never beaten a top 5 player at a major. thing better.
30-15.
How do you top the previous point? Just like that. That is incredible. And good sportsmanship once again from Sonego, appreciating the moment.
An absolute feast of entertainment between these two.
40-15.
Too much territory in the end. A quick 10-meter dash for Alcaraz, couldn't save the situation.
An unrelenting wave of attack from both sides of the net.
40-30.
Better return. We've seen him stand up to return that second serve quite often and float the backhand long. That time it was very short and sharp. Took it on the rise, just used the pace of the serve. He was on top from that moment on.
Feels like these two just took the pin out of the grenade in terms of the entertainment value.
Sonego leads 6 games to 5.
Phenomenal. Sonego 6-5. And there's still an opportunity for the Italian to take this to a 5th.
Got to like Sonego as a match player. He's up, he's positive. He doesn't dwell on the negative. He's not afraid of the crowd. He's engaging.
30 love.
This is a big stage. It's not meant to be his stage, but he's not shying away from it.
Love.
That's what you're talking about in terms of not organising himself as quickly out of the serve, that he's getting caught a couple of times on his shoelaces. Can't wait for this breaker.
6 games all.
What else can these two produce?
So he has the advantage early, Alcaraz, with playing the first 6 points with a marginal breeze, it must be said, but it's favouring him. So it's absolutely critical that he make the turn. A small lead, 4-2, you would suggest.
There's your chip return, Roll.
I love that chip return. I love any return that goes in a tie-break.
1-0, Alcaraz.
And you can see that that left foot swinging around the body, full commitment. He didn't pull off the ball. full-blooded drive. Lorenzo was almost invited in by the chip. He did nothing wrong. He served with pace as a rule, has Alcaraz. We'll see if he sticks to that or whether he goes to more of a clay court style, three-quarter heavy. Goes with pace, actually a serve volley point. Interesting.
There's something magnetic about the way that Alcaraz plays tennis, and your eyes just simply drawn to him.
2-0, Alcaraz.
When you see him on that forehand with any sort of time, you just think something is about to happen. It usually does. Just a lethal shot. That breeze still favouring him, Josh?
Absolutely, yeah, it's picking up, in fact, so these couple of points are big. If he could just walk around with a 4-2, even 5-1, I think he'd be home and hosed.
.212, biggest for the afternoon.
3-0, Alcaraz.
9-1 in 5-setters, but he doesn't want to have to go through the agonies of trying to improve on that particular stat. His one loss coming here against Berrettini. He would rather evict this man from the draw right now.
He served well.
3-1, Alcaraz.
Sonego. He has not altered his position to return, though. Alcaraz, he's been pretty steadfast in how he wants to approach both first and second.
Well, the lack of pace almost contributing to the mistake there from the Spaniard. He was reaching for the ball.
And that might be a consequence of the breeze, just holding it up. So I think in the context of this tiebreak in the match, this is a huge point. As Josh said, I think it's really important that he makes the turn with a lead.
He will be.
4-2.
And I think he's very aware of it. You can just see the body language, the importance. I think both players know it. And gee, you've got to tip your hat to Sonego, though. He will not go away. He has competed. A lot to like about what we've seen from him today.
Execution. You're thinking he's got to go wide. It's been so successful for him.
5-2.
And then you just execute.
Alcaraz.
You hit your spot. You open up the court. That's sort of the clay quarters mentality. Just get the execution right. Almost his best forehand return of the match. Maybe the serve not quite directed as Sonego would have liked, but it was 207, and he took a full cut at it. We haven't seen that too often.
Four match points. And he was trying to finish with a flourish.
6-3 Alcaraz.
It was there to flourish, wasn't it? And when he's playing at his best, he will make that. But today was a day of some near misses, some tough situations. He's had to fight for this. Still has 3 match points up his sleeve.
Sonego was magnificent.